All right, we're getting ready to deploy. Here's a nice one. Look at that. We're going up the Garret Mountain to do a demonstration with the Paterson PAL. That, and we're going to do a demonstration with the helicopter and the drones. All right, there's Lisa. We're taking Lisa with us today. I'm talking to the cam. We're taking Lisa today. Look at this. Ah, wave. Say hello, everybody. Lisa can't wait. Secured, locked, good. Okay. I'm familiar with it. Ready? Now?
of the human race. Up until the 1920s, everyone thought the universe was essentially static and unchanging in time. Then it was discovered that the universe was expanding. Distant galaxies were moving away from us. This meant they must have been closer together in the past. If we extrapolate back, we find they must have all been on top of each other about 15,000 years ago. This was the Big Bang, the beginning of the universe. But was there anything before the Big Bang? If not, what created the universe? The universe emerged from the Big Bang the way it did.
Buddy, good morning. Thanks, man. Good morning, man. Good morning. All right, that's it.
It's my favorite.
Super cool. Did you get to meet everybody? Mike Pirot. Nice to meet you. This is the director right here. Hey, hello, sir. Michael Pirot. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Guys, pay attention. Listen, this is Victor. This is Mike. They're helicopter pilots. Victor actually works with me. He's going to give you a little lecture about the helicopter, and so is Mike. Just give him, your undivided attention, and make sure that you guys respect him as you guys are going to respect me. All right.
All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, sir. How are you? Good? Did you like the landing? Did you see how we did that? Okay, I'm going to introduce you to a guy that taught me to fly. You're going to learn a lot from him. Okay, he has 10 years under his belt. He's practically done it all, right, man?
Pretty much.
Pretty much, so he's the man. So I learn from him. I learn every day from him. So there's not a day that goes by that I don't learn something. And believe me, right, Mike?
There's a lot to know.
Yep, there's a lot to know flying a helicopter. So give him your undivided attention. This is Chief Pilot Mike Pirot from Garret State Helicopter. Give him your...
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us today. It's super cool to spend a little time with you guys. Who here would like to be a pilot or interested in pilots? That's super cool. Awesome. In order to be a pilot, really important you guys work hard in school, stay out of trouble, because the FAA, as long as with the police department, they want good young people to fly these helicopters. You get a lot of responsibility. Not only am I responsible for basically a $750,000 million machine, but also it seats 4 people. So you're responsible for everybody inside, and I'm also responsible for everybody on the ground. So you get a lot of responsibility with that. But ultimately, you get a great view flying these machines, a lot of knowledge, a lot of book work, and a lot of skill goes into becoming a pilot. What I can tell you is a minimum of 40 hours of flight training in this aircraft will get you your private license. Another 100 hours gets you to a commercial license. And 200 hours you become a certified flight instructor. And now you get to teach the next generation of pilots coming in. So you get a lot of responsibility as a flight instructor. Legal age to start training is 16, and you can get your license at 18.
Which my daughters are... My daughters are also, she's 16, she's learning to fly.
That doesn't mean that if you have an opportunity to come for a ride, you can go for a ride and I can give you a lesson. I just can't train you how to fly the aircraft yet.
Right.
I don't think anybody over 16? That's okay, no worries. If you're interested in helicopters, I would recommend check out YouTube. I know some of you guys use YouTube for educational. Put in Robinson, this is the Robinson R44, which is a 4-seater. I'll give you some fun facts about it. It's got a 6-cylinder engine in it, fuel injected. It's got air conditioning. The doors can come off. Top speed is 160 miles an hour in this aircraft. The ceiling height for it is 14,000 feet and change. Our average flight path around here is between 1,000 and 3,000 feet. So we still got a lot more room. This is one of the most congested airspaces in the world. You guys familiar with Newark, have Caldwell, we've got Teterboro, JFK. So there's a lot of air traffic around here. One of the pilot's responsibilities as well is always looking out the cockpit window for other traffic. Along with that, we're also guided by the Newark Control Tower, Caldwell Control Tower, and Teterboro Control Tower. And each airport will have its own frequency or radio station. So when we transition from Caldwell into Teterboro's airspace, we've got to turn in the dial to put in the right station so that now we're talking to Teterboro's control tower. When you're in a controlled airspace, as Teterboro, we don't do anything that the control tower doesn't tell us to do. So we are under their guidance and they tell us what altitude to fly, how fast to fly, and where to go. When they're out to the west towards Lincoln Park, there's no control tower out there, so we fly on our own and we just talk to other pilots. And how we do that is we've got Greenwood Lake out to the west. Whatever airport you're near, they have their own radio station. So we just tune into that radio station and we'll talk to the pilots that are flying around there. Also some more fun facts. The machine actually doesn't have a mileage counter on it like your car. The machine itself is good for 2,200 hours. So you can fly 3 million miles as long as it's not over 2,200 hours. So every time we start that machine, there's a timer that runs. And it lets me know when 2,200 hours are up. I return the machine, they take it all apart, they rebuild it, recertify it, and then it goes out for another 2,200 hours. For maintenance, because this machine is used for commercial purposes, every 100 hours my mechanic has to go through the aircraft. There are parts that don't last 2,200 hours. There's a manual for us, so we check the manual. If the part says that it's good for 500 hours, regardless of what the part looks like, it's got to come off the aircraft, and we get a certified brand new part, and we put it on, and we document everything for the FAA. So we have a FAA office over in Teterboro. They're really good guys there. They help me out a lot, because as pilots and owning a helicopter business, we don't know everything, and we rely on them for help. And if we're not doing things the right way, just like the officers here, they're going to let you know. So we try and follow the rules. That's a major, major part of our responsibility in life and every place else is be good to other people, follow the rules, and try and do the right thing. One other thing about the aircraft, it burns 14 gallons an hour. So fully loaded with fuel, we've got roughly about 3 hours of flight time. And the minimum for the FAA is we got to land with at least 20 minutes of fuel in reserve. So I don't know if your parents drive around, you ever see the light comes on in your car, it says you're running low on fuel. Well, if that comes on in this aircraft, we have roughly 5 minutes before we run out of fuel. So it's always important that you land with 20 minutes. And the reason why they have that is with helicopters and planes are a little bit longer, is if the airport you're going to is closed, you can't land there, you gotta have extra fuel to get to the next airport. So, questions on anything I'm talking to you folks about?
How did you start?
This is good. So,
There you go.
I used to work in New York City, and I used to build data centers, wiring, IT, big computer networks. Number of years ago, my son was born. I stayed home. I played Mr. Mom, and in that time, while I was doing my thing with my kid, I realized I didn't want to go back to New York City to work there anymore. So I decided, as I always had a dream, and I will encourage you guys, you know what, follow your dreams. Sometimes they don't happen right away. I waited a very long time, but my dream came true to be a pilot. So I studied 5 days a week. I flew every time the weather was good. And in 2 years, I got all my ratings, and I started working for another gentleman who's good to me. He's over in Linden, called Heli Flights. And then I had an opportunity to start Garden State Helicopters. And here I am. I have this one, and I also have a smaller one, which is an R22, which is a 4-cylinder aircraft, which predominantly I use that for training. Everybody pretty much starts out training in a 2-seater helicopter. And the unique thing about helicopters is if you can learn to fly these small ones, in actuality, the bigger ones are easier to fly. The only difference between the bigger helicopters and this one is they run on jet fuel. This one runs on gasoline like your car. So once you learn how to fly, the aircraft act the same way. It's just learning how to start and shut down a different type of engine.
What kind of navigation you have in here?
So we
Just
have
in case, you know, you get lost.
So we have several types. So we train from the basics where that top thing right here, this is my compass. So I can navigate with my compass if I lose my GPS. I have a GPS on board. Every airport has its own identifier, or KMMU is Morristown. If I put that into the GPS and I hit a button, there'll be a line. And all I have to do is follow that line. If you put in the right coordinates, it will bring you there. I also fly with an iPad. The iPad is another form of backup GPS, which the iPads these days actually have more information on them than our GPS that's on board. So we also have our maps for backup in case everything goes down. We have paper maps, just like old school. I don't think most of you kids won't remember your parents driving around with maps out, but we also have a map on board, 2 GPSs, and typically we know this area because if you grew up here, you know New York City is over there, and you kind of can get your bearings. At night, it's a little bit different. We can fly these aircraft at night as well. It's super fun flying at night, but it also is a little bit different regarding how you fly the aircraft because it's a lot harder to see.
One of the cadets asked me before you land, you did 2 circles.
Correct.
What's the purpose to do that?
Okay,
Good
so
question.
That's an excellent question. So there's a lot going on up there that's going through the pilot's mind. So first thing I'm looking for are big towers. Usually associated with big towers are wires. Wire strikes with the aircrafts are one of the most dangerous things that happen to helicopters. So as I'm circling around, I'm looking at obstacles. So that tower I was looking at. As we're going around as well, we're also trying to feel where the wind's coming from. We always like to land with the wind coming into us, and we'll take off into the wind. The wind helps the aircraft climb. It also helps it slow down, and it minimizes the amount of power that I need to bring it in for a landing. So I'm also checking out the wind. If we were to have an issue with the aircraft while we were circling, I'm also looking for emergency locations that I can safely put the aircraft down. So just over there, you can't see it, but there's a set of houses. I had the highway out over here. So we factor in that. Also, I was looking at you folks to make sure that you guys are gonna be safe, and I had plenty of room to set the aircraft down. So that's what we were checking out up
When
there.
you say with the wind,
Yes.
do you have some kind of machine in there that does you?
We got the coolest machine known to
Oldest,
man.
fastest thing in the world.
Yeah.
These 2 little strings, I can lose everything in this aircraft
There you
except
go.
for the engine, and we just fly the aircraft using these 2 strings. So when these 2 strings are up and down, that means that the wind is going right through the front of the aircraft, and it's what we call it's in trim. If it's not in trim, you'll notice that the wind is blowing the trim string this way slightly. So I know that the air is blowing this way. So that's what I use to figure out the wind. I also had James Pickett, who is a commercial pilot, who came here to help me out, and I talked to him before we even left the airport to get a feel of what's going on up here. We also check the weather channel. We have several different apps as a pilot. The weather is one of the most important things you guys can know besides your aircraft. If the weather's not good, we can't see, we can't fly. Other airplanes have different instruments on board that'll allow them to fly in bad weather when they can't see. So the wind and visibility, obviously today is one of the most beautiful days for flying. I know probably you guys have been stuck inside for a while. Those days as well, we're stuck inside as well. So weather is really important to us, so we check all the weathers before we leave. It's important not only to check the weather where you're leaving from, but where you're going to. Because we live in the Northeast, the weather changes rapidly. And
But now we're going to go into drones. The reason why I bring this here is because I want to teach you guys the safety of it. You guys fly the drones, there's a limitation. Does anybody know limitations? How high can you fly a drone?
50 feet, 400.
400 feet, that's good. That is the maximum you can fly a drone. 400 feet, correct. The reason being because you don't want to collide with this.
All the way up there.
Okay? Everybody, if that gets a drone, please read all the instructions. There's a lot to know about drones. Okay? You have to fly within the vision and line of sight. That means you can't fly the drone and let it get lost. Okay? I don't care if you got the view monitor, whatever have you. Have vision. Make sure you'll be able to see it. Okay? And 400 feet is way too much to the drone to begin with. I don't even fly 400 feet. I think I took it off maybe 250 feet. That was plenty. Okay? 150 feet is good enough to get a lot of footages around the area. Okay? Do you know what we use drones for? Do you know anybody? Oh, what for?
Take pictures.
What else?
It's bad.
Not yet. That's true. All right, and law enforcement, they use it for accidents. Some departments are already having them. They use it for search and rescue, to look for someone lost. Especially, let's say, like out here, because sometimes the helicopter cannot go where a drone can. So they'll deploy a drone. Well, let me get to that. You don't want to risk the life of a helicopter pilot. You want to deploy a drone. That way it's a lot, you can fly a lot lower into the trees, into the bushes to look for somewhere. So they have thermal imaging. You'll be able to see at night or during the day. It's detected through heat. So we're able to see you. So you'll be able to see a person running or whoever have you. Okay? So a lot of the police departments are having this. They have these types of drones. Right? And my main thing that I want to tell you, fly safely if you have one. If you're gonna fly, get a little one, cheap one, the way you can practice, you need practice. And they're also to fly them commercially like this. There is an FAA test you have to take now. Yes. If you want to fly them commercially, or if you want to make money with them, or do any type of commercial type, or work in law enforcement, if it's in law enforcement, all the officers have to be trained. FAA certified, trained to be able to fly these things and with them requirements. Okay, so it's not just flying. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of books. You have to know the laws. Okay, you do. It's fun. It's fun. But do the right thing. It should be fun. So that's the legalization of it.
You know
Well, I started flying at the beginning. Started with a little one. Now look where I'm at now. We're flying this. You know? Anybody have any questions? Because I'm going to do a demonstration. We're actually going to fly them. Me and Michael. I'm going to show you. Michael's a little bit. That's okay. Any questions? Comments? Does anybody have a drone? Did I ask that? Where do you fly? Yeah, where do you, when you want to take the drone inside, where do you go? Park. You got to be careful with people when you're in the park. Don't fly them over crowded areas. Okay? Because God forbid your battery runs out or something may happen, you may hit somebody. Then you're liable. Then there's a medical bill, police involved. You hear me, guys? Okay, so you want to fly safe no matter what you have. Anything that goes in the air, you got to be. There's always has to be a safety factor. Just remember, you might break a window. You know what I mean? A house window or whatever have you. You might hit somebody. You hurt somebody, then you're liable. You know what I mean? It's just the bottom line. So fly safely. Fly in a park, a lot of area. Make sure it's open like this. All right? Any other questions, anybody? Come on, let's deploy them. notice that I'm not doing anything. It stays by itself up there. See, I'm not doing nothing. It just hovers. See the helicopter and everything. See that? Isn't that beautiful? All right. See that image?
You can find it.
Yeah, show.
connect
Come
up.
here.
Whoa, back at it. I told you already. Hey, listen. I want everybody to back up away from here. I don't need you to step on this. Back up. Jordan. Back. Hey, look.
Sounds good.
You don't see him recording?
You got to practice.
Listen, Lucas.
400 feet.
Hey, listen to me. All right, I'm gonna start pointing people out to the park.
It pretty much looks like a bird.
Guys,
Why can't you just hold driving at the same time?
all right, guys, move back a little bit. Move back.
You can't even see it.
All right, go ahead. All right, in this type of scenario, let's say there's
other officer. He's gonna do one job, and I'm gonna do another job. So he's gonna do his thing, and I'm gonna do my thing. We're looking for somebody. All right? So I'm gonna go over there. You know? And he'll do his thing. Okay? A little bit more. Hey, over here.
You guys be right there. Clap my hand, okay? Where you guys finding it? That's boy.
Watch it, guys. We're landing. Watch it. Watch it. We're landing.
Better frequency, better reception.
Line up! Everybody! You gotta
go,
take a
thank you.
picture next to the helicopter.
problem.
Line up at the
Let me see how
Okay.
Because I watched them the other day in the show, how they go in and out. Those guys are unbelievable.
Yeah, that's my son.
That's it.
Right here.
All right.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Great job. He always does a great job. It's an asset to the department to have Mr. Barriga. We have here Mr. Director Contrato, our new director from community policing. My name is Detective Cava, and we're all here from the Passaic County Sheriff's Department. We want to thank our great sheriff, Richard Berdnik, for allowing us to do all this, work with the kids, engage with the kids. Do you know why? It's the future. The kids are our future. Thank you again, everything what you do for us, and have a good day. How much stuff do you have of me? Tell us, Contrato.